By supporting the Hoedspruit Endangered Species Center, that's where we found goodness. Pick and Pay, always there for you.
Now, this week is National Drug Awareness Week, and we're joined by our Pick and Pay pharmacist, Fransa Katz, to talk about drug abuse in South Africa, which continues to be on the rise as a big problem that we need to really address. Now, one of the best ways that we can use to not only tackle the problem, but possibly even eliminate it, is by creating awareness around it. And that's exactly what we're doing here. Fransa, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
It's a pleasure.
A very big problem that it permeates through not just, for children that start off at an early age and it ends with them dying, but into society as well. The criminals we see today most of them started off as drug abusers early on.
Right.
So let's talk first about what are the common substances that are being abused right now?
In South Africa, mandrax and dagga are abused quite widely, but the other substances, heroin, cocaine and tic, are definitely on the increase as well.
Yeah, and some of the side effects that we're looking at, what happens to you when you're using these drugs?
You know, you can basically divide the drugs into 3 different groups.
Yes.
The first one being your opiates, which would be your morphine, opium, heroin, and what that does, it mimics the hormone, the endorphins, the hormone that you have in your brain normally, but it mimics that, and that gives you this feeling of euphoria almost when you use that. Then you get another group that we call the amphetamines, which is your stimulants. They actually stimulate the nervous system, and tic is one of those.
Yes.
And then you get the downers, as they call it, which again would depress the nervous system, where alcohol is one of those, as well as your barbiturates. So you've got these 3 different classes, basically, that the body behaves or reacts differently depending on which class of substance you would be using.
And so from a pharmaceutical point of view, when we start talking about drug addiction, you're addicted to the drugs, how do you know, and when do you know that you are?
You know, it's quite a debatable subject, but I think one of the definitions that I would use that would explain it quite easily is when you are using a substance that you know is harming your body and is affecting the way you function, but despite knowing that, you continue using it, you are actually abusing that substance because you know it's not good for you, and yet you continue with it.
Yeah, and I can already think maybe there are some people out there that are experiencing those symptoms and alarm bells start going off. How do they know? What are the common kind of habits, the daily things that drug abusers do that get them into that drug addiction?
You know, people start using drugs for many different reasons. Some of them could be, especially with your younger children, could be peer pressure, wanting to fit in, trying to cope with personal or social or interpersonal situations, becomes a habit. And then also you get, once it becomes a habit, you've got the withdrawal symptoms.
Yeah.
For instance, your opiates, if you use one of the opiates for a period of time, the brain actually adapts to that substance, the way the substance behaves or reacts in the brain.
Wow, so you become dependent.
Yeah, and the brain actually changes. It changes the circuiting in the brain. Now, when you stop using it, those neurons that's in the brain that have been inactive now suddenly become active again. And that causes a chemical imbalance in your brain, which again affects the nervous system, which then gives you all the withdrawal symptoms.
Wow.
And then, you know, once the withdrawal symptoms come, then, you know, people sometimes just can't cope with not taking the substance again.
And they end up doing extreme things to try and get the next batch of supply or whatever it may be. So obviously parents and friends and close people around the drug abuser play a very important role in helping them. So what help resources are available to them to help the addicted?
Look, at our pharmacies, Pick and Pay pharmacies, for instance, we do sell a 5-panel drug test. That is a urine test where you can check your child or whoever you're concerned about, check the urine, and it actually tests for 5 different substances. But apart from that, it's a matter of knowing or noticing when there's change in behavior.
Yes.
For instance, they become more secretive. You pick up that more lies are being told, changes in the mood, not motivated, days of depression. the most important thing, I think, for anybody who would like to know more or would like to find out more how to help anybody in the family or anybody they know is to phone SANCA. There is a toll-free number that you can phone. They are the experts. They would be able to help anyone who wants to know more about how to deal with drug abuse of a family member or a friend.
All right, Fransa, thank you very, very much for that insight. Really do
pleasure.
appreciate it. That number is on your screen, 0861472622 to phone SANCA for help. And of course, we'll have that information on our website, expressoshow.com.